February 28th, 2026. Buddha Dhamma. Today we're in chapter 17.9. It's a long chapter, so we're going to break it down into two parts. 17.9, Moral Rectitude and a Healthy Economy, Part 1. 17.9A, Introduction. 17.9B, the search for and the protection of wealth. 17.9C, happiness for lay people. 17.9D, spending of wealth. Page 1630 to page 1641. 17.9, Moral Rectitude and a Healthy Economy. Introduction. There is a common custom in Thailand of the laity asking for and receiving of the 5 precepts, Pancha Sikha. When the lay people have undertaken and determined these precepts, the monk who gives them concludes by pointing out the blessings of moral conduct, chanting, Selena Sukatim Yanti, Selena Boga Sampata, Selena Niputim Yanti Dasama Selam Visotaye. This verse can be translated as, by way of virtuous conduct, one goes to the heavenly realm. One achieves an abundance of wealth and reaches Nipita, Nibbana, Nirvana. The pertinent clause here is that, referring to the abundance of wealth, moral conduct, sila, leads to wealth, and thus to the healthy economy. Although this verse was comprised in latter years and appears neither in the Tipitaka nor in the commentaries or sub-commentaries because of its traditional importance, it is worthy of attention. So that verse is never appears in the Tipitaka. The chief principle of this moral conduct, sila, is that it establishes a stable basis and prepares a disciplined environment in order that one may successfully engage in various essential activities. In the relation to the economy, when people are established in sila, moral conduct, there is an absence of crime and the reductions of danger to human life or personal possessions. People can move about freely. Consequently, when building factories, engaging in trade and traveling about, either in the city or the country, during the day or at night, people feel secure and at ease. Bosses and their employees relate to one another with kindness and sincerity. The state of bureaucracy is honest, efficient, and trustworthy. Communication with people, both locally and internationally, is smooth and easy, and the production of commerce proceeds unhindered. This is how sila, moral conduct, prepares a foundation for economic prosperity. Once a nation is stable and its citizens feel secure, one can shift one's focus to the individual people. Here, we need not examine the obvious harmful effects of immoral behavior. For instance, lasciviousness, theft, deceit, and alcoholism. When people determine to learn their living in the virtuous, upright manner, they are devoted to such an honest pursuit, they will no longer act or think in immoral, unscriptuous ways. They will not be detracted even by thoughts of unexpected windfalls, let alone by acquiring things through dishonest means. When one's mind is truly intent on one's work, muddled or distracted thoughts cease. This is the beginning of samadhi, concentration. When one is focused and committed to one's work and activity, one engages with such considerations as, how should I begin? What should I do? How should I proceed to achieve my goal? What are my obstacles am I likely to face? How should I solve these problems? With whom should I associate? Whom should I consult? This is how moral conduct, sila, affects the mind. Samadhi, concentration, and panya, wisdom, take over as the guiding factors. The four paths to success, itipata. Now, the four paths to success, the wholesome desire we stated earlier is chanta, aspiration. And the energy or the effort to put this in forth is vidya. The focus attention is the sita. And the investigation part is vimamsa. But the four paths to success is called itipata. Arise and turn as one is to be assured of accomplishment and success. It is good to bear in mind that the function of sila, moral conduct, is to establish a stable foundation for people to confidently engage in further spiritual practice. If one lacks a moral discipline, one will have a weak foundation and an unsupportive environment. Without moral integrity, one cannot truly begin on the spiritual path. If one tries to begin, one will be shaky and unsteady. On the contrary, when people's surroundings are favorable and their foundation stable, they are able to truly engage with their work. They will be endowed with samadhi, concentration. At the beginning of the passage, summarizing the teaching for the upasika or upasika, the lay or the householders, Gautama Buddha uttered the verse acting as a constant principle in regard to the subject of moral conduct, sila. Uttata kamma de sesu apamanto vitana wa, translated as diligent in one's work, heedful, clever in managing one's affairs. One may say that this verse etymologizes the Buddhist principles towards work. Work begins as a consequence of diligence, represented in Pali language by the term uttana, which may also be translated as rising to one's feet, non-complacency, increase of wealth, or increase of prosperity. When one is diligent and industrious, one's work advances, leading to the completion and accomplishment. Gautama Buddha emphasized diligence not only on the factor of leading to success, but also on the recollection for self-esteem and joy in regard to one's work. A frequent teaching he gave to the householders in this context is one has acquired wealth by perseverance, amassed by strength of one's arms, earned by the sweat of one's brow. Righteousness, wealth, righteously gained. Diligence also leads to self-development and self-improvement, because an engagement with work compels one to grow in many areas of one's life, to pass beyond obstacles and to reach success. Diligence on its own, however, is insufficient. One must also be endowed with heedfulness, appamata. If one is diligent and energetic, but one acts in an untimely, inopportune way, or if one acts out of place or out of step, putting forth effort, vidya, the energy, where it is inappropriate, and desisting from effort where it is due, one is likely to fail. Appamata or appamado, heedfulness, here refers to sati, mindfulness, which steps forward and functions in tandem at the same time with effort, vidya. One is vigilant and alert, abreast of circumstances as they unfold and unperturbed by negative situations. One acts immediately when this is called for. One is fully prepared to protect what is valuable and to deal with unfinished business. One does not miss the suitable opportunity when the time is right. One is not negligent. One keeps to the principle, prepare well for the future. Do not allow unfinished business to cause distress in times of crisis. When supported by apamato, heedfulness, vidya, effort, is fully equipped and functions in the following way. It functions A, it prevents damage and loss. B, it solves problems and eliminates negative and dangerous situations. C, it enables and supports wholesome actions. And D, it acts as a protective force, say by protecting one's virtuous qualities, upholding one's dignity, and enhancing one's spiritual practice, culminating in spiritual perfection. The third clause in the verse, clever at managing one's affair, refers to panya, wisdom, which leads to correct application of diligence and enables heedfulness to truly bear fruit. In sum, panya, wisdom, understands the principle involved in work, in particular to one's endowed with the 7 qualities of a virtuous person. Sapurisa dhamma, or we could also say sapurisa pugala, which includes such factors as to know the origin and the cause of things, to know the objectives and results of things, to know oneself, to know moderation, to know the proper time, and to know other people, to know one's community, to know one's society, to be able to select the right people for specific jobs, to know the needs and the desire for specific groups of people, etc. Gautama Buddha frequently emphasized this clever management of affairs, both in teaching to the monatistic community using the expression alam sambitatam, meaning able to manage one's affairs, and in particular to the householders, upaso upasika, who are responsible for the activities within the wider society. In regard to looking after the household, Gautama Buddha taught this principle. A householder should be charitable and clever at managing his affair. In this context, there are many guiding principles in the scriptures for people who work in the government service. The example here is one endowed with discriminative discernment, vicharana panya, accompanying an awakened intelligent, buddhi panya, clever at managing his affairs, knowing the proper time and the occasion is suited to carry out government service. One diligent in work, circumspect, with keen insight, skilled at managing his affair, is suited to carry out government service. In summary, moral conduct, sila, encompasses those things that are connected to human activity and to the human coexistence. One may say that moral conduct, sila, is a matter of preparing a suitable environment and a society, a foundation in order that people can fully devote themselves to the cultivation of the mind and of wisdom. The following scriptural passages reveal Buddhist principles on sama-ajiva, right livelihood, for upaso upasika, for the lay people, describing the acquisition of wealth, the spending of wealth, and the happiness that is derived from a just livelihood. 17.9b, the search for and the protection of wealth. At one time, the Hindu Brahmin Ujjaya visited Gautama Buddha and said that he would soon be traveling on a long journey. He asked Gautama Buddha to give the teaching that would be conducted to both the present and the future well-being. Gautama Buddha replied, "These 4 things, Hindu Brahmin, are conducive to present happiness and well-being. The fulfillment of perseverance, uttana sampata, the fulfillment of protection, araka sampata, association virtuous people, kalyana mitra, and a balanced livelihood, Samma Vijita. What is the fulfillment of perseverance? Here, a clansman earns his living with diligence, either in agriculture, commerce, or tending livestock, or even military service, civil service, or some form of craft. He is industrious and skilled, not negligent, possessed of investigative faculties, familiar with the procedures of that work, able to engage and carry out that job. This is called fulfillment and perseverance. What is the fulfillment of protection? Here, a clanman possesses wealth he acquired by hard work, collected by the strength of his arms, earned by the sweat of his brow, justly obtained in the rightful manner. He manages, protects, and watches over that wealth, thinking, now how can I arrange it so that the king do not confiscate this wealth, that thieves do not steal it, that fire does not consume it, that water does not carry it away, and that displeasing airs do not take it. This is called the fulfillment of protection. And what is the occasion with virtuous people here, in which whatever town or village a clansman dwells, he consorts, converses, and consults his householders, householder's son, young men who act as dignitaries, and old men who act as elders, who are endowed with faith, moral conduct, generosity, and wisdom. He emulates the accomplishment of faith in those who are endowed with faith. He emulates the accomplishment of moral conduct with those who are endowed with moral conduct. He emulates the accomplishment of generosity in those who are endowed with generosity. He emulates the accomplishment of wisdom, those who are endowed with wisdom. This is called association with virtuous people. What is a balanced livelihood? Here, a clansman earns his living with moderation, living neither too extravagantly nor overly hard-pressed. He knows how wealth increases and how wealth shrinks, thinking, acting in this way, income will exceed my expenses. My expenses will not surpass my income, just as a person who carries a scale, whose apprentice knows on holding up the balance that which much weight is deficient, and this is much is excessive. If the clansman earns a small income but lives lavishly, it will be ruin for him. This clansman uses his wealth like a fig tree. Glutton. This is the clansman earns a great income but lives hard up. It will be a rumored of him. This clansman will die like the pauper. Because this clansman earns his living with moderation, he is called a balanced livelihood. Hindu Brahmin, righteously acquired wealth, have these four pathways to decline. Apaya mukha. A person is a philanderer, a person who is a heavy drinker, a person is a habitual gambler, a person associated and is intimate with evildoers, just as the case of a great reservoir with 4 inlets and 4 outlets. If the person were to close the inlets and open the outlets, if the rain were not to fall according to the season and time, a decrease of that reservoir is to be expected, not an increase. Hindu Brahmin, righteously acquired wealth that these 4 pathways to growth. Aya mukha. A person is not a philanderer. A person is not a heavy drinker. A person is not a habitual gambler. A person has friendship, companions, and intimacy with the good, just as the cause of the great reservoir with 4 inlets and 4 outlets. If a person were to open the inlets and close the outlets, if the rain were to fall according to the seasons, an increase of the reservoir to be expected, not a decrease. Hindu Brahmin, these 4 things lead to the clansman's happiness and well-being in the present. From here, Gautama Buddha went on to reveal the 4 things conducted to the future. Samparayikata sambarata nika dhamma. Samparayikata means future benefit, the higher benefit. the accomplishment of sattva, faith, the accomplishment of sila, moral conduct, the accomplishment of dana, generosity, and the accomplishment of panya, wisdom. 17.9c, happiness for upasok upasika, lay people. The following teaching by Gautama Buddha given to Ananta Pintaka includes the following principle refers to simply as the four kinds of happiness for the lay people. There are, householder, the four kinds of happiness that should be constantly achieved by a layperson who enjoys sensual pleasures dependent on time and occasion. What are the four? The happiness of possession, ati sukha. The happiness of consuming, bhoga sukha. The happiness of depthlessness, anana sukha. The happiness of blamelessness, anavaja sukha. What is the happiness of possession? Here a clansman possesses wealth acquired by energetic striving, amassed by the strength of his arms, earned by the sweat of his brow, righteously gained. He thinks, I possess wealth acquired by energetic striving, righteously gained. He experiences happiness and joy. This is called happiness of possession. What is happiness of consuming? Here, when the wealth acquired by energetic striving amasses the strength of his arms, earned by the sweat of his brow, righteous wealth righteously gained, righteously earned, a man spends his wealth and does meritorious deeds. When he thinks, with the wealth acquired by energetic striving, righteously gained, righteously earned, I spent my wealth and do meritorious deeds, he experienced happiness and joy. This is called happiness of consuming. What is happiness of debtlessness? Here, a family man is not indebted to anyone, to any degree. Whether of great or small, he thinks, I am not indebted to anyone to any degree. Whether great or small, he experienced happiness and joy. This is called the happiness of debtlessness. What is the happiness of the blamelessness? Here, a dakinaya bugala, a person worthy of respect, a noble disciple, is endowed with blameless conduct of body, of speech, and of mind. When he thinks, I am endowed with blameless conduct of body, speech, and mind, he experiences happiness and joy. This is called happiness of the blameless. Aware of the bliss of debtlessness, one recalls the joy of possession. When using one's wealth, one wisely discerns the joy of consuming. Discerning with wisdom, the wise one knows dual corresponding shares of his happiness, and sees to that the first three kinds of happiness are not worth the 16th part on the bliss that comes from blamelessness. 17.9d, spending of wealth. At one time, Gautama Buddha gave the following teaching to Ananta Pintaka, the purpose of money and the benefits of wealth. Householder, there are 5 benefits that should be obtained from wealth. What are the 5? Here, with the wealth acquired by energetic striving, amassed by the strength of his arms, earned by the bread of his brow, righteous wealth righteously gained, a noble disciple makes himself joyful and pleased, properly maintains himself in happiness. He makes his mother and his father, his wife and his children, his servants and his workers, his employees, joyful and pleased, properly maintains them in happiness. This is the first benefit to be obtained from wealth. Here, with the wealth acquired by energetic striving, righteous wealth righteously gained, a noble disciple makes his friends and his colleagues joyful and pleased, properly maintains them in happiness. This is the second benefit to be obtained from wealth. Here, with the wealth acquired by energetic striving, wealth righteously gained, a noble disciple protects his wealth from the dangers that may arise from fire and floods, kinks and bandits, and displeasing errors. He makes himself secure. This is the third kind of benefit to be obtained from wealth. Here, with the wealth acquired by energetic striving, Wealth righteously gained, a noble disciple makes 5 kinds of offerings, aids from his relevant. Not teat bali, welcoming gifts to the guests. Atit bali, making a merit in honor of the departed. Bupe beta bali, support to the government. Raja bali, an offering to the devatas. Devata bali. This is the 4th benefit to be obtained from wealth. Here, with the wealth acquired by energetic striving, wealth righteously gained, a noble disciple established the offering bearing noble fruit, generating virtuous states of mind, resulting in happiness and conducive to the heavenly realm. For the ascetics and the Hindu Brahmins who refrain from heedlessness and negligence, who are settled in patience and gentleness, who train themselves, calm themselves, free themselves from the fires of defilements, of kalesas, asavas, the taints. This is the 5th benefit to be obtained from wealth. Upaso upasika, householders. These are the 5 benefits that should be obtained from wealth. If when the noble disciples obtains 5 benefits that should be obtained from wealth, his wealth is depleted. He considers thus, whatever benefit should be attained from wealth, I have attained such benefit. Yet my wealth is depleted, thus that noble disciple is not distressed. If when a noble disciple obtains 5 benefits that should be obtained from wealth, his wealth increases, he considers thus, whatever benefit should be obtained from wealth, I have obtained. Such benefit of my wealth has increased, thus that noble disciple is not distressed. In both circumstances, he experiences no distress. For the wealthy householders, to be generous and to share one's wealth with others is considered a vital principle, and to practice consistent with the path of the noble ones, adakinaya bugala, one worthy of reverence, one worthy of respect, as confirmed by this teaching. Having little, one should give little. Having a moderate amount, one should give moderately. Having a lot, one should give a lot. Not to give at all is unworthy. Indeed, the merchant Kosia, I say to you, that you should use and share your wealth. You should enter the path of the Dakinaya Bugala, the noble ones. A person who eats alone experiences no joy. Cultivating generosity can be done by undertaking particular regular practices and observances. Take the example, one may choose to donate a specific percentage of one's income to assist others to perform a special materious deeds once a month, once a year. Some people may even determine not to eat a meal before they have given a gift to someone else, as is in evidence in the story of the recently converted wealthy merchant who upheld his vow. I will not drink even a drop of water if I have not first given a gift. That's the end of 17.9, part 1, from page 1630 to 1641, the 41st. Part 1. Buddha Dhamma, the original, compiled by Somdet Prabhuta Gosacharya. English name, P.A. Payutto.